My name is Bob Salas, and I'm here to support the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.
It's a networking group for UAP and ET experiencers, researchers, and disclosure advocates.
It is an alliance between those that have worked in the UAP, ET, UFO, whatever world.
There are a lot of organizations out there dealing with UAP right now. They're all doing their own digital media. But Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is media. So in a sense, we're a link between all of those organizations and all of those conferences. And it's an important link to have.
Yeah, I love the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. I'm so happy to be part of it.
Well, I was so excited to learn about it because I've been following Steve Bassett for years.
I call them citizen science, researcher, activist, journalist, documenters, right? Slaving away on this issue while the government is saying, why are you wasting your time? There aren't any ETs here.
So Steve and I had a very long lunch in Hollywood. He told me his life story. I told him my life story. And at the end, Steven says to me, Dan, I'm a disclosure guy. You're a Hollywood guy. What can we do together?
The Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is trying to bring people from the industry together so that there can develop some kind of a collective sense of what to do about this right now.
The Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is an idea whose time has come. People in Hollywood, people in the UFO field, all coming together to work in a tangible way to evolve disclosure.
The reason why the Hollywood Disclosure Project is important is that it can be a bridge between longtime UFO researchers and the entertainment community so that we can start getting the story right, you know? I'm not saying that every alien movie or sci-fi film should be cleared through the Hollywood Disclosure Project, but I am saying that film and television is a powerful medium for communicating ideas about the world and society that we live in.
We are a networking entity designed to ensure that the messages, the content, whether it be in narrative or in documentary form going forward, particularly in the post-disclosure world, is accurate. It's helpful, meaningful.
I guess that it was Steve Bassett and Dan that came up with the idea of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.
I met Steven 2 years ago. We had a long lunch. We looked at each other. He said, Dan, what can we do together? I look back at Steven. I go, we're going to create the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. And he goes, that's it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's it. We're going to do that. And we shook hands. Okay. So now we have 3 words. Hollywood Disclosure, that's all we have. We have 3 words. The goal of our group is to help nurture and develop the next era of feature films, TV shows, and documentaries based on the real-life experiences of real-life people. Half are the ET side, half are the Hollywood side. And Hollywood just means people with an ability. It doesn't have to be Hollywood, the city, or the town, because we have members all over the world. Hollywood means people who have the ability to bring a story to a screen.
Some of you may have heard this a version of this talk at Contact in the Desert. But I'm honored to be able to present my case here at the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.
And Dee Wallace from E.T., Thomas Jane, The Punisher, Shirley MacLaine is a member, Dave Foley, who everyone loves, is a member. Michael Ian Black, who I'm interviewing soon for my podcast, he's on the new CNN show called Have I Got News For You? He's a member. It's slowly but steadily building. We're going to hit 200 members by the end of this 2024 year.
The Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is a community that Dan and Steve have put together, which brings people from Hollywood, filmmakers, together with people in the community, like us.
Come back. It was so riveting.
We try to promote any knowledge of anything in this area. new discoveries about UAPs, alien contact, any non-human intelligence fits right into that too. So it's nice to mingle with the filmmakers to try to get them to be more accurate in their portrayal of what's happening.
And what we're seeing here is a genuine opportunity that's being taken advantage of for people in the Disclosure Alliance to network, to discuss ideas, even to put out documentaries and move the ball forward in ways that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.
Yeah, I have mad respect for Dan Harari. Absolutely. He takes a stand and he takes action. And he's gathering together the troops and really important people, big influencers in all kinds of sects of UFO, UAP, extraterrestrial, disclosure. Really important for us all to have support at this time, for us to have a home to have these conversations, and to bring in this new information so we can grow and have a presence together.
The reference to Hollywood as an entity is a misnomer. That, you know, there's so many different studios and competitors in different mediums now that are all going on right now. And as you know, Hollywood is in kind of a state of flux right now, trying to figure out how to respond to the kind of media revolution. And I think it's going to be a perfectly legitimate undertaking to participate in educating not only the people of the country, but the people of the world into elevating their consciousness about this whole thing and playing a constructive, positive role in raising the consciousness of our people so that we can have a peaceful and productive relationship with the ET civilization. I think that's central to what it is, the role that Hollywood can play.
How has Hollywood treated UFOs?
I think Hollywood has done the best it can with the information that it's had. It can only use true stories up to a certain point, and then they have to add in the entertainment value. But it's great because that kind of system desensitization has actually worked in our favor. It's gotten the public ready to handle the real truths, the real reality that's on its way.
But Hollywood Disclosure is doing a big service by putting fact into theatrical, classical movie type stories, creating the merger between the two. It's huge because we haven't had that.
Historically, the public wants science fiction. They love that. Wondering what's going on out there. So if you go to the 1950s, when all of that great B movie stuff came out, well, that got interrupted with a couple of really great films that were seminal, and that is Forbidden Planet and The Day That the Earth Stood Still. And Hollywood, I think, had an opportunity then, and they've sort of seized on it to look at another aspect to this. But the public has always wanted it, and Hollywood has been there to scratch that itch.
I think Hollywood likes the salaciousness of fear. And that's the problem. That's not what we need. We need to open our hearts and our heads, same time, so we can learn more. If we don't learn more, we're not going to progress. Hollywood has shut that down. Kids didn't want to learn about the reality. They wanted to play in the fear, play in the adventure. I get playing in the adventure. I love adventure too, but I don't need the fear in my life.
Today, the information comes in so many different ways. Multiverse, Marvel, right? Great films like Interstellar and Arrival, with an approach to this where even for me, I left the theater going, you know what? Somebody's trying to tell us something. This is really great information. And so right now, I think it's an opportunity for Hollywood to step up and bring the good stuff, because there's a lot of brilliant writers, the talent on the other side of the camera, all of the great actors in Hollywood understand the subject. And I think that we can now take the moment and start to present stuff in a different light for the rest of the world.
In my opinion, how Hollywood has handled it, and I will make it a little bit broader for all of media, because media is so important to everything we do. It's a great influencer, isn't it? When you read books, when you listen to music, when you watch movies, when you watch TVs and so forth, it influences and impacts us how we feel about things.
I think we've got to get to a point where we have the recognition that many of these stories that people share are real, they're valid, and stop judging them. And then take those stories and let them be what they are in the media for movies for kids to enjoy. That makes a big, big difference. Rather than promote the fear, let them have the stories that are real out there for the public to enjoy.
Well, I don't think Hollywood's treated it very fairly before because, well, the idea of making a film, you've got to have some excitement and some bad guys. And very often the aliens or the UFO occupants are the bad guys, but they're not. And I really like to get that across to people that there's all different kinds of beings in the universe. Like I said, some of them don't even need UFOs from my experience. And they look all different. And you can usually sense that some of them are so uplifting. And if you're really advanced, then you have to also be advanced in love and healing and caring. That's advanced. And some of these beings are very advanced and they really are very caring and people feel the presence.
There are two strains that actually exist in the Hollywood treatment of that. Well, there's three actually now. One of them is, of course, that it's a horror story. And as you know, there's a long tradition in Hollywood starting your career by doing horror stories. And so they have it be a horror story, that they're here to eat you, they're going to kill you, they're going to rape your women. The classic, the ultimate other paradigm, the ultimate dialectic. That's the one. That's one. The other one is, of course, a lot of the people in Hollywood back in the 50s that were blacklisted were sneaking in, writing scripts, such as in Spartacus and others, but that they snuck in, and there was this whole peace thing, which is of course like the day the earth stood still with Michael Rainey. You know, you guys are all very militaristic and you're going to have the wrong response to us, and that we're good people and we're good beings, and you know, there's this underlying subversive critique of the American national security state in its response to a potentially peaceful ET presence, okay?
Historically, Hollywood's been very much setting us against aliens. Going back to the 50s, it was they're always evil, they're coming to attack us, they're gonna kill us. And you know, there's some people that think that that's orchestrated, that that's by design, that we wanna set it up, us versus them, and get that mentality into people's heads. Maybe it's true, it's hard to say.
See, that's perfect because that's the truth. The truth is most of these things in Hollywood where they're trying to show aliens as negative, it's not. I don't come across that information. A lot of these drones, these ships that you see, that even the crafts, they're mostly ours. So what has been coming through my clients is that extraterrestrials are us, so why would we want to hurt ourselves? You know, there are other versions of ourselves. In the rest of the universe, time doesn't exist. Everything's happening in this now. So in this now moment, there are future versions of yourself. And a lot of times they have certain technology where they can come visit us. So a lot of time that is the phenomenon. It's like maybe your ancestors, people when they're under hypnosis and they can really tune in and see what's happening to them, they find out that they're maybe getting a tune-up, or the other being is working on them, or it's like their family. So a lot of the time, the feeling is a very positive one. And they come back with certain abilities or different tweaks to their DNA. Sometimes there are things that are removed that were harmful. That, they've even experienced healing. So
Steven Spielberg is a category unto himself, because he has the kind of prominence that he does in Hollywood. And he has been tracking this thing with E.T. and the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And now he's got this one coming, this Disclosure movie series, actually, in 2026. And that's taken much more seriously than both of the others, I think. And so that I think that tracking what Spielberg is going to be doing about this is going to be really interesting. And I'm hoping to reach out and have some contact with him to try to make sure that he's get an understanding of what the analysis is he's going to have. So I think there's three basic things that have been going on in Hollywood with regard to the ET and UFO issue.
Steven Spielberg and what he knows and how he's trying to project and get this out has been a question not only with the public, Hollywood too, right? Which is, okay, does Steven know the secret shit? What is it that he's trying to state? Because if you go back historically with his message, it's too perfect. And it's always the same subject. It's ET, it's contact. What do we know? Is there a cover-up? How do we get through the cover-up? This is what he's been about.
I think a movie can still be exciting, even if the ET is the good. And he did that before with ET, that the ET was running away and being hidden from the bad scientists who wanted to kidnap ET. So yeah, very often humans are the bad extraterrestrial. People often ask me, who are the bad extraterrestrials or the bad UFOs? And I always say, well, the humans are the bad extraterrestrials because we're the ones who cause the most problems, I think.
Happy people. Listen. Right? So most UFO movies and TV shows are about horrible aliens coming and doing all sorts of bellicose things. So Dad was a bit hesitant, but he met with Spielberg. Spielberg asked to use the rights to his classification system. You know, our father realized he wasn't studying UFOs, he was studying UFO reports. So he needed a rubric, a classification system to help scientists sort of compare apples to apples. And that was daylight discs and nocturnal lights. And then if you meet a threshold of being within 500 feet or so, that's a close encounter of the first kind. If there's some type of physical evidence, it's the second kind. If you actually see a humanoid or a creature, it's the third kind. And now there's like 350 more kinds after that. But so he did the movie, and Spielberg bought the rights to the title, hired our father to be a technical advisor, and he had a brief cameo role in the movie, and he thought it was very good.
Steven has been dealt the same question for decades. Okay, man, what do you know? What's the secret? Are you read in? He's so used to this question, and I think that there's a possibility for that. We all know the CIA has their own entertainment division, and for years they approved scripts and what that information was and how it was handled going out into the public, all the way up to Independence Day in Area 51. This is not something old, it's current and it's new. You can go to the CIA website and look up their entertainment division. As a matter of fact, they're hiring, right? So is Steven a part of that? I don't think it's out of the question to just assume that he would be, because he's the biggest name, the most popular director, but also an extreme talent, and he knows how to tell the story. So would a government tap into that, feed a little bit of information, and allow this to get out to the public? I would say that the answer to that is yes, and I would expect that.
I hope it does a lot. I hope it does a lot. I'm not sure it will, because I'm sure it's going to have the fear spin, the angst, the anger, all that. But for Hollywood Disclosure, for other disclosure projects, I think it ramps the resonance of the word, which then people start to relate to. And I'm talking about people that are just everyday citizens at home. They begin to understand what disclosure means. And I think that's a big service he's doing.
I would love to see Hollywood actually talk to people and get the real stories. An excellent example is Travis Walton. They made his movie, but of course they had to Hollywood it up and make all these special effects and do all these things. If you talk to Travis, his real story is even more compelling than the Hollywood version. So why not just use that right out of his mouth? I would love to see stories like that come out and give people the true representation of the contactees, and then they can judge for themselves.
Well, I think that the question of what the role that the audience is going to play, I think that what we have to do is the American people and the audience has to respond more effectively to the really positive movies about the ET presence. So they have a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of intelligence, rather than these gross, low consciousness, kind of obscene movies about them eating you and trying to make the worst looking creatures you can make. So I think, and I think that we have to move beyond treating it lightly like it's this fictional fantasy kind of thing, even like Star Wars and all that. I think that we've got to have a really serious treatment of this. And I think that Hollywood is going to be making a lot more movies that are series, that are docudramas, that are talking about really serious factual information and contexting it with dramatic characters that are real to explain to people how this all came to pass and help get past the potential of just demonizing our entire government for the way they've lied and concealed this. Because if we're going to all get together and treat this in a positive way, I think we have to get past recriminations and hostility toward each other. So I think there's a major responsible role as media. And I think that we're going to have to get past the old adage in Hollywood that if you want to send a message, call Western Union. You know, I think that we're going to have to come to grips with the responsibility that we have as an industry to get this message communicated in an effective way for the people of the United States and the people of the world. That's what I think has to happen.
Well, I think the HDA could be valuable in the disclosure movement because, you know, all these people from these areas come together and we network and we talk and you meet someone else that knows someone else. And I think it just kind of trickles down. And the more people that know more of this information, I think the better.
And I think that if, in fact, in 2026, there are major developments that occur with regard to the disclosure, Hollywood is going to have to play an extraordinarily important role in trying to recover from the kind of ambiguity.
I was asked by Dan Harari, who is the CEO of the HDA, if I would like to join. I think that my position in MUFON as state director of Southern California kind of got me in there. I jumped on that hay wagon real quick because I'm all for disclosure. Whether it happens through the government, though, I don't know. I mean, they keep doing the Charlie Brown football number, you know, and pulling it away at the last minute.
The HDA is going to be far more valuable and important after disclosure. Right now, we're helping it along a little bit by bringing people in and what have you, but we still haven't gotten the confirmation 78 years after the Roswell event.
I have really positive thoughts about that. That's kind of why I'm part of the HDA. I'm not so interested in some government mucky-muck coming out and saying, it's official, we are not alone. I mean, I'm not going to complain if somebody does that, but of course, we don't have a Walter Cronkite anymore. And if the President of the United States makes that announcement, half the country isn't going to believe it. They're going to call it fake news. If some Democrat comes out and says this, even if they're not the POTUS, like say Gillibrand or somebody, well, half the country probably won't believe it. You know, people are very divided right now into their little political wings.
In my opinion, I would say the way to move the disclosure forward is to actually give people the truth and not try to create this fake alien invasion motif that they keep trying. Because if they look from past movies, it just doesn't work. People don't believe it. It does create a lot of fear. If they can just tell the truth about what's happening, about the real disclosure, is that a lot of these ships are ours. And that if you're going to talk about an extraterrestrial ship, it's so advanced that they don't need to use these type of technologies that in their, you know, for them are kind of archaic actually. So the truth is that we are multi-dimensional beings.
I think that when we go out there as artists and filmmakers, musicians and writers, directors, podcasters, filmmakers, that is the media that people listen to now. That they're more apt to sit down and watch a movie than the 6 o'clock news these days. And I think that's the way to get this info out to the public. I think it makes a great difference. And I think that you can push disclosure open that way. And again, I mean, I think that we are disclosure. I know Paul Hynek, he feels the same way I do about it. You know, we're not really so hot, Paul and I, on the government doing this. We're hot on us doing it, us artists, us researchers, and getting that out to the public and creating such a pressure that people, the evidence is just too great to discount. And then maybe something will really happen.
I don't think we need to rely on the government to tell us what is and what isn't real. There's enough information out there for people to look and find answers to. But right now, because of the state of the mind of everybody, the government saying, yes, these things are real, is going to make a difference in the way people think. It's very important.
But I think that we are disclosure. It's those of us that have had personal contact, who have studied this for ourselves. I guess the beauty of MUFON is it's a civilian organization, as is HDA, another civilian organization, no government links in there. And maybe that's the way to pry this information out. I think more whistleblowers are going to come forward, and the more that this is put out in the public, the more normalized it is. We're going to see more whistleblowers coming out and giving us good information.
I think that the past several decades have been where Hollywood has been used and manipulated by the Pentagon and the Defense Department and by other military and intel agencies. And we are now at some sort of a strange cusp as we get into 2025, where I have been given information about things that we allegedly have learned from sophisticated extraterrestrials about what might be coming on our planet. But we are overwhelmed by information that seems to be suggesting that the Pentagon is 100% in control of everything. And don't worry, we're going to have these periodic hearings, and you will hear from people and see we're being very good and nobody is covering up anything. It's just not true.
We've had 3 hearings in 3 years. First time in 50 years. The last time we had congressional hearings was right at the end of Project Blue Book, where they shut that down. And I think the important thing to keep in mind is that all of these whistleblowers have been cleared by the DOD. Nothing that they have released, said in Congress or in interviews after or before have gone against the wishes of the DOD.
Well, having Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, I think, is important. We all need a tribe. We need a home. We need a place where we can go and speak truth and know that we're heard and understood. We also need new information, because this conversation is not one and done. It's always growing, expanding, and fascinating. And so for those of us who are in the know of these beautiful beings from other planets who are in their way waiting for us to get it together down here as humanity and as we treat the planet as well and the cosmos, they're waiting for us to be the disclosure. So I am very grateful for HDA and all it offers us.
It's too scary to them. It's too real. It is physical. It is beyond the normal.
At the time of disclosure, we need to remember 2 phrases. The first is, I don't know, and the second is, why not? When we're brave enough to say we don't know something, that just opens us up informationally to so much new intel. It doesn't close us off. We tend to be very decisive as a species. We want answers. We want that answer now. But that is impulsive. If we give it a pause a little bit and we say, I don't know, and we let more information come to us, we can find the true answers and run with that. And then by saying, why not, we can take answers that we would have never experienced, like, why are they here? What is their purpose? How do they fit in with our paradigm?
I'm so excited about the congressional hearings, and at last the whistleblowers are getting to speak and being protected legally, and I'm really looking forward to disclosure happening soon.
I've just been sort of addicted to watching Ancient Aliens for the last 10 years. And I've saved so many episodes, and I always learn more when I watch the same one over and over again. There's always some little nugget that I missed. And to me, that's so exciting to see that all this evidence over millennia of having been visited, how every culture has their most important information or their most sacred avatar coming out of the sky, and bringing this information. Or even the ancient cultures saying, we didn't make these roads. The Incas say, we didn't make them. They did it and came out of the sky, and they told us how to do it. So that to me is very exciting.
If they could explain it somehow, even to explain it away, they would get behind it. But they can't. And that makes it difficult.
I have my pessimistic side that feels like the media is very much owned by the powers that be, the same corporations that are running the government in so many ways. The lobbyists really make the decisions. And just seeing Google and Amazon take over the world, I'll be amazed if Danny and Steve can bring this out and not turn it into a big war with, with the aliens. So, even if there isn't a war, but the government will just try to turn it into that. So I'm really excited. I mean, Danny assures us that no, the civilians are really on top of this, and the government knows that, and they can't get away with a lot of shenanigans. And so, okay, I'll trust that.
I don't have the answer to that question, but I know that we're being hurt. There is a disconnect on this planet among humans because we're living under so much complexity of denial. And I see this in men who come to me and they're working underground. They're working underground in bases. They're working underground in aerospace. And they all are working on projects that relate, and they know, to extraterrestrials. But they can't talk about it. They know that they'll be in trouble. I'll be in trouble. Everybody will be in trouble. And why are we punishing the whole planet and people, myself included, who only want to do honest reporting of what is here, why are they here, and what is the relationship with the United States government, with the Russian government, with the Chinese government, with the North Korean government.
Right. Well, I guess what I would like to say is I would like people to keep an open mind to this. Our show Beyond Contact that we do, a podcast on the Coast to Coast Network, we try to keep it right down the middle. And we're very open-minded. And I like to hear from the experts and the researchers and these credentialed PhD people with their claims. And I also hear from experiencers and what they think. I don't like people on either end of the spectrum. When they dismiss this out of hand, I think that's not being fair. And also when they hold up their camera, a light in the sky, it's a UFO. Let's slow our roll a little bit and not jump to that. Let's see all the other things it could be. And if those aren't it, then maybe it's a UFO. I think people both need to kind of come to the middle a little bit on this, because I've been looking at this for 12 years and I've got an opportunity to interview a lot of people. And I know that there's something here. I don't know what it is. And I get discouraged when people tell me that they do know what it is, because we're dealing with an unknown. Now, if people are open to it and they see that there's something here, let's get some scientific research. Let's put some resource behind it, and let's find out what it really is. That's what I'd like to see happen.
Well, we do have a lot more interest by people in Congress, and I think they're getting a little fed up with being stonewalled by those who have the secrets. They know they've got some names. They know who's doing a few things here with recovered craft or analyzing tissue samples that have been retrieved from these non-human intelligences.
And we can see that now that it's 2024, the giggle factor on this whole subject is lowering because it's being seen in the mainstream news more and more now. It's not disappeared completely, but it's lowering. And at the heart of all the talk now are congressional hearings associated with UFO crash retrievals, talking about hardware and bodies. And so it's very timely. And that's why Leonard Stringfield and his legacy witnesses are so important, because we're looking at possibly 100 cases, multiple bodies, multiple craft. And if we can track down these legacy witnesses, we can get them to come forward in congressional hearings as a united coalition to bring about the disclosure.
One of the interesting things is the crash retrieval programs that have come up in Congress. And if this stuff has been cleared by the DOD, my question is, why are they, of course, they're denying that any legacy crash retrieval programs exist, but why are they allowing the subject into the conversation? And I think that if I had to guess, it probably has something to do with the corporations that have been studying this stuff. They may be itching to patent some alien technology. They may be itching to sort of control the field once certain technologies are acknowledged and then released. I think that they're thinking about the legal headaches that they're going to get. But that tells you that they're serious about disclosure. So it's happening. I think it's going to happen very slowly.
Well, oftentimes we hear stories, I've been hearing this for years, that people have metamaterials, which are like different metals that they've discovered that maybe the isotopes or different signatures of the metal doesn't seem to match the metal that we make. And so people, again, I think they often jump to, well, it must be alien. Well, we don't know that it's alien. Let's see it. Maybe it's our military. Maybe it's an advanced development we're making in metallurgy. Who knows? But I think we're going to need some sort of physical evidence to help really, really change people's minds.
You know, the whole idea of crash retrievals. But I've always felt like the crashes that happen are Trojan horse events, where this is how they give us this technology without becoming a part of that narrative. You know, it's kind of like, well, here you go, plop. And you know, there are bodies with these crashes, and we never see a rescue mission around these bodies. So, you know, we know that there are crash retrievals. I believe there are crash retrievals. I think my own mother's story, when she was working in an underground base in the 50s, I think that that's probably what they were working with. That would be why they had the German rocket scientists working down there with her. So all this stuff kind of aligns with Jake Barber's story. Although, again, you know, there are things about it that just bother me. You know, I can't help but have a little bit of a skeptic in me. I think that's, I do expect my own field investigators at MUFON. I tell them that I want them to hold true believer in one hand, skepticism in the other hand, and to walk the tightrope. And if you can learn how to do that, be fully open, but yet critically thinking, you're going to do great in this field.
The big hurdle, though, however, is that these programs are highly classified, obviously. And how do you get around the classification business without someone with a lot of power in our government, such as the president, maybe, might have to go to that, saying, all right, we're going to declassify this, and we want you to feel free to talk about it. It's going to take something like that. It's going to take a major player or person to get this process rolling, really rolling towards disclosure.
It's quite an ontological shock that's happening. 10 years ago, we would have never seen this happen. And now it's happening everywhere, and the pace of it is quickening. At this point in time, not only do we have to be prepared for the information onslaught, but we have to be prepared philosophically. We have things to deal with that we've never had to deal with before. We're now having to ask questions like, how will disclosure of information fit into my life, into my reality paradigm right now? What questions are my kids going to ask, and how do I answer them? Can I leave the dog outside? These are things we never considered before, and we're going to have to. So it's actually really exciting. Disclosure is shaking the jar, and all the information that's been laying dormant is all coming to the top. It's going to be a mess, it's going to be chaotic, but I think we're ready for it.
I think it's fantastic. I think everything that we get, it all to me adds another brick in the wall. We're just adding to the momentum of furthering the cause, furthering the disclosure effort, and it's exposing people outside of our community to this topic, which is always great.
All right, my incident occurred in 1967. I was a missile launch officer in what we call a launch control center for Minuteman I missiles, intercontinental ballistic nuclear missiles aimed at targets, ready to launch at a moment's notice. And so it was our job to have them ready to go and to actually launch them if given the order. So on this particular day, March 24th, 1967, in the evening, an object, a very bright reddish orange pulsating light, really, with some kind of a solid object inside the light, hovered just above us and proceeded to disable our 10 missiles very rapidly. And then it flew off. So the question is, why, right? Why would they do something like that? I had that question for many, many years until I started getting serious about researching. And then I had people coming to me telling me the same thing happened to them. I've accumulated at least 13 or more incidents where UFOs have come over a nuclear site, either a weapons site or a storage site, simply shown a beam of light in those areas, or again, disabled missiles. In a span of 6 months, in my case, from about September of 1966 to March of 1967, UFOs shut down or disabled 30 nuclear missiles. Again, they did not damage anything. There was no shooting of laser beams or anything like that at these missiles. They simply sent a signal to the guidance system of each of the missiles and upset the guidance, the inertial guidance system, which requires gyroscopes and a level platform for those gyros, and simply upset that system. And that's what shut the missiles down. I think, in my opinion, because this has happened in many other places over a continuum really since 67, they're sending us a message. Message being, why do you have these horrific weapons that could completely destroy all living things on this planet? Well, we've got our reasons, but they are not very good reasons. I talk about that. It's the nuclear deterrence concept, or MAD, mutually assured destruction. We've got to have more nukes than our perceived enemies in order to frighten them, keep them from going to war with us and firing their nuclear weapons at us.
Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is not only going to be an entertainment value for the public, for the United States, and for everyone globally. HDA supplies so much more than just entertainment. They are creating a new philosophy, as you would. They're getting everyone prepped for disclosure to come, so that when that time comes, whether it is one massive event or whether it's this continued slow drip. When you have a collection of producers and directors and writers ready to turn on a camera and ready to take this news to the public, that creates a sense of calmness, of cohesion that we definitely need in that time.
Let's not forget, the HDA also literally has a who's who of UFO researchers, experts, authors, and disclosure advocates as members. Listen to this list: Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Carolyn Corey, Whitley Strieber, Paul Hynek, Ryan Wood, Bob Salas, Danny Sheehan. Thank you, Danny, for coming.
Hey.
Ron James, thank you, Ron, for coming.
Hey.
Lynn Katai, Kathleen Martin, Katie Page, and so many more. What's interesting to me is that, and some of you were there, we officially launched the HDA on November 2nd. That's only 4.5 months ago. Today, the HDA is bigger and far more amazing than Stephen and I ever could have imagined the day we split that enormous antipasta salad. It's already exceeded our wildest dreams. All our members talk to each other. If a Hollywood producer or a documentary person or a new TV show producer needs women who've been abducted and been impregnated by aliens, then the people from the ET side on the Slack channel, hey, I was abducted, I was impregnated, I met my daughter 7 years after I gave birth, she's a hybrid. It's a very robust channel. The biggest benefit right now for us is our Slack channel. All of our members are in there talking to each other.
Yeah, definitely. If you're interested in this area or any aspect related to UFOs, UAPs, or anything related to that, paranormal, so it's a really nice blend to find out what's happening in the community.
Well, my understanding is we wanted to keep Hollywood producers, filmmakers in the loop, have them have an organization they could go to if they want to discuss this or have a movie made about, or film made about this subject. I would like to see it less frightening for the public. For example, in my case, they shut down 10 of my missiles, nuclear missiles. But was it an act of war or on their part? Are they trying to get us to get rid of our nuclear missiles so that they could take over Earth? If you really think about it, that's kind of a difficult to swallow, that concept.
So I think of disclosure as being now a global initiative. It just doesn't belong to only the UAP community. The last 10 years, it's been academics, it's been scientists, it's been researchers, experiencers, authors, speakers. Now this is an initiative that covers the entire world. And now the government's getting into the game as well, putting us all on the same track. And when we're all in the same field, the flow of information is going to go so much more smoothly and more efficiently as well. All the information about technology and science and what experiencers are actually experiencing is all going to be shared so much more smoothly. That creates a sense of oneness. And oneness is not something humans have ever experienced, but we so desperately need.
You have this massive issue of enormous implications that is going to change the world, all right? And you got and it's not going to be local, it's going to be global. 8 billion people are all going to find out or have confirmed to them at the same time that we're not alone. We've got non-human, I call extraterrestrial presence here. Technology and have for some time. Implications are enormous. And so all 8 billion people are going to want to know as much as they can learn, as fast as they can learn. And what better industry to do that than the film, television industry, streaming, whatever. These are the people with the money they have, and they will make a lot of money because this content will be devoured. All right, so there's money to be made, there's message to be sent. And so the HDA is to help it be as accurate and as positive as possible. Look, the film industry has made a couple of $100 billion off of ETs because something like 600 sci-fi movies with ETs in them of one type or another have been created, filmed, big screen, streaming, the whole, 600. Every conceivable manner of ET. Most of them nasty, but some not so nasty. And these films are some of the highest grossing ever. 1 billion, 1.5 billion, 2 billion. Like all the, the Avenger movies and stuff have got ETs in them, one way or the other. So they've made a fortune from the fiction. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's basically a good thing. Because probably nothing has educated the world to the fact that there's this thing called extraterrestrials from somewhere else than the fiction movies that they have made this money from. And so that is going to make it far easier for people to find out or finally get confirmed to them, oh yeah, now there's actually ETs out there and they're here now and they got some things going you should know about. They're not as bad as the ones in the fiction movies, really. They're not that bad. We're pretty sure of that. On the other hand, they're not angels either. So the Hollywood world, the production world, these brilliant geniuses that do all this stuff and have all the tech, they have played an important role. I respect it. Now I'm hoping they're going to play a hugely important role post-disclosure, using all of that incredible tech and skills to educate the entire planet about what we're going to learn. Because after disclosure, if you're following this, we're actually going to start seeing stuff coming forward from multiple countries in their vaults, in their files, all classified, now being revealed. That process is already kind of underway, but after disclosure, huge. And so all this new information is coming out. Well, we're hoping the film industry, the television, all that stuff will take that and present it in various ways so the world get educated quickly. Because we have some major decisions to make as a civilization after we finally all have confirmed to us that, yeah, there's non-humans here. They have an agenda. We need to find out what it is, and we need to respond.
I love it. Is there anything you want to say before we're done?
Just, keep your eyes to the skies. Don't give up on disclosure happening. I believe it's going to happen. I'm not going to set dates for it like some of my dear, beloved, close friends do, but I do believe this is going to happen. And I believe within our lifetimes, and maybe, in the very close future, that we're going to have disclosure. So just remember that you have the power, that if you've had an experience, don't be afraid to talk about it. If you've seen a UFO, don't be afraid of ridicule, because the ridicule has gone down to practically nothing now. It's very easy to go and tell your contact story and be respected. I every once in a while I'll have a skeptic, throw a little barb, but that's like the rarity now. It's usually people are, oh wow, you teach a class at college on this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's become respectable. So, and I think HDA and what we're doing and putting people together, artists and filmmakers, etc., writers, that this is going to be an effectual way of bringing about disclosure.
Beautiful.
Shout out to Earl Grey. This is a black and white photo. And this photo and the next slide are sort of psychedelic trippy visions that Earl Grey did. Isn't that cool? You guys all see that? Yeah, that one, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a DMT version right there.